today is clay day. So I have a few pieces that I want to glaze or paint. These are from my very first home firing. I took them out yesterday. It took about 13 hours. For pottery, usually you have to do two firings. The first is called a bisque firing, and then you paint or glaze your pieces and then put them back into the fire for a second firing. So once I paint these, I have to fire them again. I also need to stop by the pottery studio and pick up some pieces that are done, and I have some pieces to finish glazing as well. Aside from that, I have a few unboxings, so let's get started. So there's different kinds of glaze. One is called underglaze, and then you have these type of glazes where the color is actually very different a lot of times from what it will be once it's fired. These are not fired yet, and they are called Greenware, and you can tell the difference in color from this and this, which has been through the bisque firing, so fired once. Also the sound between this and is very different. So after the pieces come out of the bisque, you have to wipe it down with a watered sponge just to take off all the dust and clay particles before you start painting. Just make sure that you clean out the piece completely. So if you think about making the actual piece, waiting for it to dry so you can put it in the kiln, plus the firings and the coolings, it's pretty much a full week process. I think a lot of times my inspiration comes from different subjects and media. For example, recently I watched the 2022 show for Valentino, and it was just so beautiful. Not only the design of the clothes, but the way the models walked and where they stood, and the scenery, the videography, and at the end there was a part when the director came out with all the people who worked on the project, and it was just really moving. I recently watched a movie called Taxi Driver. This one is from 2017, I believe, and I highly recommend if you get a chance. The objects and the way the people are dressed, everything to depict that time, I find that so inspiring. I find it really interesting. My gosh, this takes a while. Before I took pottery classes, I had no idea as far as the difference between handmade and pottery that you can just buy at Target or wherever. But now I have such a deep appreciation for handmade pottery. Next time you are looking at dishes, mugs, check it out. Look at the bottom, especially if it's handmade. Once this is completely dry, I'll be going over the whole thing with a clear glaze. They will go back into the kiln for a second firing. So right now I need to wrap up and have some lunch and head out to the pottery studio. So I'll take you guys along. Okay, so these are some of the pieces from last week's firing. I'm so sad my piece broke. So I picked up these pieces from the studio, and these were fired cone 10 in a gas kiln. So the colors are more muted, and it's very different from a cone 6 electric kiln fire. This one is from cone 6 electric kiln, and this one is from cone 10 gas kiln. So the cone 10 definitely has like a more rustic feel, whereas the cone 6, the colors look very vibrant and kind of bright. If you get a chance to try pottery, I think it's good to try both. I have some packages that I need to open up. This is some handmade paper that I ordered. So I'm curious to see what they look like. It took a while. I think it took like 2-3 weeks for it to arrive. So they are handmade, and I just love the texture. I've used this paper for a previous project. So this one is for a new project that I'll be working on in the next few weeks. That wraps up today's video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more art and New York City content. And until next time, keep creating. Bye!